Hello everyone, it is time to do today's live stream. We're an hour later than scheduled. I apologize for that. I was at the DFWMAS Frag Swap. So first I want to thank Rogers Reef Food for sponsoring this channel. They have a type of frozen food that your fish go to eat out. They go to eat the food where it's at. I'm the executive editor of Coral Magazine. Yes, John, you are catching the beginning. So if you are not a subscriber to Coral and you own an aquarium, please subscribe. Use this link that's below me, coralmagazine.com/Milev23. That is a discount code that will save you a few dollars, and you'll get 6 issues of Coral Magazine, which are fantastic reading, and I highly recommend everyone reads Coral. I offer one-on-one consultation. If you need help with your aquarium, I can do a video chat with you for an hour. You pay me, I help you, your tank gets better. It's that simple. You can email me at sales@milevsreef.com. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you that, but I'll do my best to help. So here I am. I'm tardy. Sorry about that. I'm wearing my nitrate shirt. I don't know if you can see that there. Because, yes, my tank has nitrate. But that didn't stop me from going to DFWMAS today and checking out the Frag Swap and coming home with a bag full of new corals. So I thought we would attempt to show you those corals on camera. So I've got a secondary camera here. I need to get a little thing to hold this up. Let me go fetch that. I'll be right back. Let me get that. I also got my cup of coffee I forgot about. Good stuff. All right, let me see what happens when I do this. Do we still have a camera? Let's see what happens. Let's switch and see what happens. Okay. That kind of works. There we go. Let me move this out of here. Or maybe I should just put this... Nah. Put this down here. Okay, so we're figuring this out on the fly. We've got our little frag holder there. We've got our camera. Okay, hang on. My phone unlocked because it looked at me instead of just doing its job. All right, that looks good. We've got a small blue flashlight, which we'll use to showcase the coral. We've got a blade to cut open the bags. All right, I feel kind of professional here. And obviously there's no water in here yet, so I've got to steal some water from one of these bags. I've also got a towel and some buckets, so hopefully this will work out. So what happened was, I'm at the Frag Swap. I'm super excited. Oh my goodness, I just saw Mr. Bam Bam says he's still using his subscription from Macna. Is that like 2019, 2022? Come on. I'm just glad you still have one and that you're getting it. And don't let it lapse. Keep the magic of Coral Magazine coming to your door. All right, so let's open up this cooler. And it was nice to see friends and businesses I know. I shopped from 5 different vendors. And, ooh, this one has a micro brittle starfish on it. So we'll start off with something simple here. It's already in the bag, so maybe I'll just do this for now. Let's switch and see what happens here. Can you see anything? No? Yes, maybe? Oh, look, flashy lights. That's even better. Just to give you some craziness. You know what I might need? I might need to fetch the orange filter so we get the perfect effect. Okay, I'm back one more time. All this running back and forth. Okay, there's our orange filter. Now we do this. Not too bad. All right, so this is how I'm going to get my desk super wet. I can already feel it. I'm going to open this up over a bucket. And let the water collect in the bucket. Actually, let's steal some water. It's not enough, but it's a start. So this right here that you're looking at is an orange setosa. Stop flashing. You can see the polyps right there. That's kind of cool. All right. Then oh, I got this very nice acro. Just gonna combine all the water. So this one here, I got from my... Okay, so the orange setosa came from DFW Designer Corals. And... don't break it, Mark. This acro down here smells like an acro. This one right here is from Ryan Reeves. And he called it a... Clatherata from Worldwide Corals. But because he didn't know what it was called at first, he gave it a nickname because that's what you do, right? And he called it a fart blossom. Which is hilarious. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this one here. Very excited about this. So, give me a second here. Oh, I just saw an amphipod swim across. Did you guys see that? That's pretty cool. It scooted across from the coral to the other coral. It's running around on the setosa right now on the camera. All right, I'm trying to open this other bag. Should have used a sharper blade, apparently. Put this down here. So this coral... Oh, it's going to be so messy. My poor desk. Ah! Alright, well, that's why we have this protective pad on the desk anyway, right? This one here... is... a two-colored lithophyllon. So the bottom half is orange with green polyps, and the top half is pink with green polyps. So a lithophyllon is what I have on my tank right now, in my tank for over 10 years, probably 15 years. And it's this huge centerpiece at the center of my reef. It never moves because it's grown over the rock like that. And this guy here, it's pretty awesome. So I know it's not ideal for the video camera, but I'm just trying to show you. It's a two-zone. And this came from iGem Corals. He called it the Split Decision Lithophyllon. And I just thought, yes, I need this. So the bottom half, I bought one of these in the past. And it was in the back of my reef. I was hoping to have green on the front of my tank and orange on the back. And the one in the back didn't do well and got covered in coralline algae. And so I went ahead and I said, I'm definitely buying this guy. There's my little... Look at the copepods swimming around. I'm sorry, amphipods swimming around. That's pretty great. I love that. So that's that. Then we'll put it back here. See those little guys running around. I'm going to have to move some things here in a second. All right, well, let's get the next frag. Okay, this one's cool. And I think I have a spot for it on that frag plug. This one also came from iGem. I should have brought the tongs. Put this guy over a little bit to there. So this one is a gold shyster chalice. And it's got green mouths on it, I think. Green and yellow. So apparently there's a Jason Fox chalice that's called golden. It's called golden something chalice, and this is the shyster. So it's a fake version of the Jason Fox, and it's got some really pretty orange and green. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to see what I'm pointing at, so you can kind of see the colors. It's really pretty in person. So excited about that. All right. Let's open up another one. And now we got to make some room. I got to start rearranging things here because we're running out of space. Take this guy out. And let's move that so we can get some light on here. This next one is an old school coral I was super excited to get. I haven't had one in forever. And of course all the polyps are hiding. Clean this off so you can see a little bit better. That right there. Oops, hang on, let me adjust this. There we go. That is a Garf bonsai. Been around forever. Been around probably 30 years. And I haven't had one in a long time. And I walked by Ryan's tank and I was like, is that what I think it is? He says, yes. And I was like, I will take one. So I got that guy too. I spent hundreds of dollars today. All right, let's move something else out. Let me get the tweezers. How many trips I've made so far on this live stream? Craziness. All right, let's take this guy out. Put it in the bucket. And we'll take out the Setosa with his little amphipod friends. Put it in the bucket. All right. Look at all the water, it's everywhere. Okay, now, what else do we have? Okay, the next coral this will not open up for us, so you'll just have to take my word for it because it is a softie, and softies close up until you leave them alone for a while. So this guy right here, that is a Palithoa, but not a bad one. It's one of the good ones. This is a Magician's Pally, and it has really pretty striations. It's got red and yellow and green in it. And I was like, yes, I need that. So I got that. All right, let's move our chalice out of here. And we'll take our Garf bonsai out of here. Still boring. Come on, baby. Open up for everyone on camera. Everyone on YouTube wants to see you. We'll leave it down there. Maybe we'll get lucky. All right. Then here is, oh, I'm excited about this one. So I don't know how good it's going to come across on camera. But it can always look better after some photography. So this right here, put it in the frag plug holder. Ah, of course I messed up. The magnet from the clip is grabbing my tongs. There we go. So this right here, that right there is a pink Cephastrea with orange polyps. And I was like, what? Pink? I got super excited about it. Let's see if we can do this from above, maybe. The camera's trying to find a human being, I think. It keeps moving because it's not me. Anyway, that right there is a really nice Cephastrea. So I got that. And then I picked up this guy. Okay, this one is completely closed up, unfortunately. And I don't think it'll do anything for us. Let's see what happens here. Oh, look, it's got the green polyps. Nice. This one here is from Ryan, and this is a Tubbs stellata. And all the polyps are extended and sticking out like little flowers. It was really, really pretty. So you can kind of see here how large that is. It's a pretty decent chunk. Definitely worth it. And I'm thinking this will look really nice in the reef. And then, are we down to the last one? Okay, so the last one's enormous. I don't think we'll be putting it inside the container. Move this guy out of the way. There. And we'll take this guy out of here. And we'll leave the zoanthids because we might get lucky. The last one is this one. Bam! Look at that thing. It's enormous. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it open over the bucket. This next or final frag, there's actually some debate of what it is. So I'm going to move a couple things here out of the way. Get my towel. It's too big. All right, let's try the light on it. Look at that. So I think this is an ORA frog skin. That's what I believe. But they were uncertain. They don't think it's in the stag family. I think, if anything, it's in the tort family. But I'm not certain. If you happen to recognize this and you think you know what it is, be sure to tell me in the chat. Or if you're watching this later, you can tell me in the video, in the comments. But very nice piece. Nice, large, chunky thing I can see in my reef from 3 feet away. I'm very excited about that. So that is my haul from today, going to the frag swap. And I was going, I'm gonna pick up a few things, and then I went crazy. So I ended up, let's see. We'll see if those zoanthids open up. I have no idea. I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 corals. 9 new corals for the reef, which is kind of exciting. We'll see if those zoanthids ever open up. They may not, but who knows. And that's why I was late, because I was shopping for treasure. Let's see. What did Tara Reef says it's an acropora? Well, boy, you really took a big chance on that guess, didn't you? So we can do this for a second here. Oh, hang on, let me switch it again. You can kind of see what's going on down there. We'll take this off. So you can see there's some corals. Some corals. That's what you're looking at. And we still have these zoas down here that we'll see if they open up here in a little bit. But no guarantees. We'll just see what happens here. But yeah. So that's my big news. I went shopping. I decided I needed more coral for my 400-gallon reef. And plus I'm supporting my local hobbyists. DFWMAS has been around for more than 30 years. I think it's like 35 years now. And I am the club president, in case you didn't know that. It's top secret. Don't tell anyone. I've been the president of this club for... I've done 3 or 4 terms total. And back during COVID, there was a chance that they were going to shut down the club, and I was very anti that decision. And I said, no, give it to me. I'll keep the club going. And I did. And that's why our club continues to exist, because I refuse to ever give up on anything that has to do with the aquarium hobby, including my own club that's my local area. I joined DFWMAS myself. I see water everywhere. I joined in 2002, became a member, went to the Fort Worth MACNA that my local club that I just joined was hosting. Went to that and went to MACNA every single time after that for 20 plus years. MACNA's gone. DFWMAS is still around, which is good. And we have frag swaps a couple times a year, and there was one happening today. I woke up. I wasn't in the worst of health. I said, I'm just going to go. And I went, and I didn't win anything in the raffle. I spent hundreds of dollars on these corals, but I just had to have them. Like that little sliver of a pink Sophastria, that was $60. And I was like, Add to cart. Just put it on my credit card. And I came with that. And some of the pieces were more, some were less. I think the most expensive thing I bought, looking at the list here, was the $100 split decision lithophylon. And I was like, yes, that thing is cool. And there was plenty more I could have got. I mean, there was so many vendors there with corals. And there was all these different things, and I was kind of like, I really would like to get more zoanthids to put in Caitlin's reef, for example. But everything I always put in her tank is always pink or red, and it makes everything just look like one monotone red tank. It's just kind of boring, and it's like, ugh. And then I had that lemon peel angelfish in there that I don't know is going to play nicely with zoanthids anyway. So for me to spend a bunch of money on different zoas is probably the wrong decision, but maybe something to go in this tank back here, like at the top of that tank right there. Maybe the Setosa could grow there and become this beautiful carnation of a coral. That would be really cool. And kind of a nice different change from the colors you see over my shoulder. And then, all the rest is going to go on the reef. Because, the SPS, I mean, Setosa is SPS. It's Montipora Setosa. It's a bright orange coral. It's a relatively easy one to keep if you do a good job with your water parameters. And the SPS corals are, I love them. I mean, I like a mixed reef. I like LPS and SPS. I like some softies. I kind of like a little bit of everything, if at all possible, rather than just having a purely aesthetic SPS reef where nothing moves, other than the tiniest of polyps. So for me, having a choice of things moving and not moving makes me happy. And as I've been looking at my tank, matter of fact, I had some people at my house, I don't know, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, and they said, Mark, your tank is in such dire need of help. Let us come as a team and attack it. And so a couple of them were talking to me about this today. I said, Mark, you still haven't let us come over yet. I was like, no, don't touch my tank. It's fine. And they're like, you're so old school. You don't let us do anything. I was like, no, I'm not resetting it. I mean, not to that degree you're thinking of. Because he was like, we can change your rock. I'm like, no, we're not changing the rock. I'm very happy with the rock scape. It is all supported by an acrylic rod system underneath the sand bed. But I do need to go through and declutter the last of the center and go ahead and start vacuuming what I can reach in the sand bed and start removing the built-up detritus that has been accumulating or amassing for years in that tank, which is why my nitrates are so high. No zoanthids yet. Boo. I was hoping we'd get lucky. They're not going to play nice. There's no way, but we'll see. So the tank actually has some really nice things happening. I mentioned it briefly last week that I need to take some pictures, but I haven't done it yet. The SPS corals are doing really, really well. I did have to top off the calcium reactor this week and give it more media, which, because I started to get a dip down in the alkalinity level, I actually had a crazy low reading. I was like, well, that's not true. And I went and checked the Trident, and the reagent was not low. And I looked at the intake line, and it was not clogged. And I looked at the reactor, and it was kind of low. And so I thought, let me go ahead and put more media in. And then I just told the Trident to run again. Just test again. Let's see if you get the same crazy... Because it went from like 9.5 to 7.4. I was like, there's no way it did that in one day or in 6 hours. There's no way. So it tested again. It was like 8 point something. I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. And right now the tank is at 9.35, which is kind of where I want to be, about 9.5 DKH. So it's all good. Oh, I do want to mention this. For any of you hobbyists that have been looking, one of the guys at the Frag swap, and it's so funny. He's like, hey, Mark. And I'm just like, the whole time, I don't know your name, which is terrible. But anyway, he was selling the 4-pack of the Versa pumps. So if you've been looking for those, he's got 3 brand new, never opened the box sets of the Versa pumps. And if you're interested, send me a message so I can get a hold of Ryan, who will get a hold of him to get you his info so that you can get this from him and save some money, because they're pretty expensive. I think the retail is something like $900. And he had originally got them for moonshine dosing, and then ended up saying, you know what, I'm just going to dose by hand. I don't need to use these. And he's still got them. And he was trying to sell them to me. And I was on the fence, but I didn't want to spend money on that. I was spending money on corals. So I didn't get any of them, even though it was a fantastic deal. So if you're looking for the 4-pack of Versas, which means there's one power bar that you mount to the wall and you plug it into a single outlet, and then you snap in the 4 different dosing pumps. It's very sleek. I've kind of always wanted them, even though I don't need it. It's just one of those wish list things, and I probably should have bought one, but it was just like, it was a lot. So I didn't do it. So if you are interested, let me know, and I'll find you that person, and you can haggle it out with him and see what kind of a deal you can get, because he would like to sell them. William, please let me know the temperature of your area, because I have been wondering if it's ready to ship your fish yet or not. I've not forgotten about you at all. It's just a matter of overnight shipping from good weather to good weather. And just so you know, right now our weather has been rather atrocious. Let me check something here. Like tomorrow we're going to be 95 degrees. Next Thursday we're going to be 90 degrees. Can you believe it? March? Anyway, it's hot in Texas. But we've got some other days this week where it's in the 80s, and the lows are in the upper 60s. So let me know what your temperature is, William, and I'll see if I can take care of getting you some Milev muggles, because you need those. And let's see. What's my biggest coral, Jonas asks. It is probably the ectoplasm, which is spanning my tank right now. Let me throw a photo on the screen for you. Actually, I got a couple pictures on the show today I can send you as well, or show with you as well. I wanted to buy... let me just take all these pictures and move them over. 1 second here. And, well, let's dump those up here first. Okay, so those are moving. Here, I can show you that really... I really wanted to buy the starfish, but I didn't need it. I just wanted it. So here's the... I'm going to throw it on my face. Boom. Look at that thing. So pretty, right? Pretty big, too. Maybe 2.5 inches wide or so, give or take. I don't know. And that was a $75 starfish. And I was like, man, I don't know if I need that. So I didn't buy it. I was tempted to get these Alveopora. They didn't open up, but they were pretty. And I liked the yellow centers, and I was halfway tempted to get that. But didn't do it. And then this right here, that is the Cephastria that I got. I can't zoom in any tighter, but it's that one that's to the left of the bright green thing. So you can see it's pink with yellow polyps. That is going to be a really cool Cephastria if it does well in my tank. I am very hopeful. We'll see. It's such a tiny sliver. I mean, it's half a frag plug, so it's kind of a bummer. But it could become something good. And then here is a picture from the frag swap itself. It's a panoramic. So you can kind of see. I mean, it was about 6 or 8 vendors there total. Does this move at all? Oh, look, there's more. So there's some over there, and then there was the raffle over here. There was a ton of stuff in the raffle, and I won nothing. Not a thing. I left all my tickets behind for whoever was staying so that they could win it. And then I wanted to show you guys. Oh, and I found this. This is interesting. I had not known these. I'm a coffee mug collector. I don't know if you knew. And I spotted this guy in the raffle. I was like, what? Hydrospace has a coffee mug? So, yeah, I was like, kind of wish I'd won it, but they didn't draw my ticket. So that was that. And then this one here. This is kind of a cool find. It's not a great picture, unfortunately. But what you're looking at there is an acro that's 2 different colors. So you've got that light bluish on the left of it, and then you got that green part on the right. And the reason this is kind of a cool coral is because it came from Dwayne, my friend in Seattle, and it's been growing in Ryan's tank, and so here was this 2-tone coral from Dwayne, even though Dwayne doesn't even have an aquarium anymore, and yet his corals continue to live on, and I thought that was really neat. All right, so now let me find you that picture of my reef I wanted to show you guys. I took this one about a week ago, which means it's 2,000 pictures ago. This one here, let me make sure I'm not moving more than one picture. Actually, we'll do one crappy picture and one semi-decent picture. Okay. It's moving. So this is what my reef looks like when I'm sitting down relaxing in the living room. And that bright green thing in the corner that's closest to us, right under the skunk clownfish, that is a tank-raised, aquacultured elegance coral that's been doing quite well in my care now for multiple years, which is exciting. And it's probably tripled in size, if not quadrupled in that time. And then over to the left, there's that big bright green thing down near the sand bed. That is my lithophyllon that I've been growing for about 15 years from a frag that was the size of a frag plug. And, you know, it's a big centerpiece part. You will see it again in this photograph right here, which is not nearly as pretty. The color's bad, but I was trying to look at the corals and not at, you know, the colorfulness of it. So this is what the reef looks like from the front. And you can see Spock there is swimming toward the Montipora and everything. Those corals actually are really pretty. This is just a bad picture. I used the filter on the front of my phone, but it wasn't the right combination, and it just doesn't look quite right. But when I'm asked which is your biggest corals, well, we've got that centerpiece that's, you know, the tank is 7 feet long and it's 3 feet front to back. And that center section is probably 2 feet of coral, but that's an acro with a Monty behind it. So it's not the biggest. But to the left of it, in that lower spot on the left, you've got an acro that is growing up toward the water. And that one there is a 2 foot long coral, one species that's called ectoplasm. And then beneath it, you've got something that's probably 1.5 feet long, that's to the left of the lithophyllon, the green thing. And that is a type of tort, or tortuosa type coral. It's some kind of an acro that no one's been able to identify. That's been growing for a long time, and it just continues to do quite well. So as I go in here and keep removing anemones to free up space and planting new corals, the profile of the tank will change its look. But overall, the tank is actually doing quite well. It's not perfect, but there's a lot of happy corals in there, and there's a lot of really pretty things to look at when you look at them individually and let your eye run over it. So that's kind of what's going on with my reef. And I hope you enjoyed kind of a little picture behind the scenes. Oh, the zoanthids are opening. What do you know? All right, let's see if we can go back to where we were. Close this. And I think our camera is still live here. It is, all right. So we'll do this. And we'll add some blue, some flashy blue, right? Some blue. I don't know. Let me put this back on here. That might help. Maybe do this from above. So you can see that's a magician's pally. So it's got pink, it's got the green, or it's got the yellowish tentacles, it's got a green center in the middle. But the camera doesn't like it. It's too intense, too much light. But anyway, it's 3 polyps, and I was like, yeah, I want that. So those 3 polyps was $25. And you can see 2 of them open so far. We'll wait a little bit longer, and hopefully we'll have something nice to show you. All right. So are there any... Okay, I see a question. Good. If there's any questions, now's your time to ask them, because I'll be happy to answer a few before I get back to working on some sumps that I've been building for some customers, and I've got a big order right now that I'm still working on. I did see the question, did you see what happened to Polo Reef? I saw a very short clip that used some dramatic text, some kind of recording from the past. I don't know what happened. I saw one person comment that they lost a whole bunch of water. I don't know any details, and I only found this out about 45 minutes ago, so I'm not up to date, but apparently something's not right with the 17,000 gallon reef, and they're trying to resolve it, and I'm sure they'll make a big announcement when they're ready, because they like to keep everyone in the loop. All right, let's see. Kyle says, I need to do some coral shopping after the tank clean out. You know, sometimes you don't even have to do that. You can just add more corals anyway. I was teasing somebody at the show today saying, all you got to do is drill a hole through your Montipora capricornus, and now you can drop a frag plug right into that hole and let your Monty be a frag holder. Captain Nemo Coral says, what is your normal time mark? And I should actually put it on the screen here if we're going to do that. Normally I start at 2:08 Central, and today I started around 3:15 or so because I was driving home through a lot of traffic, and then I had to grab everything in here. And as you saw earlier in the show, I had to keep fetching things because I didn't quite have everything I needed. And Brian says, it was good to see you at the show today. See, you saw me there, and now you see me here. I'm everywhere. Oh, nice. William says, I just got home from getting a new 3D printer. Yeah, let's see. Dirty Germs says, where did you get these corals? I got them at DFWMAS's Frag Swap. So a few were hobbyists and a few were companies. I don't know if I said all the companies or not, but I bought things from iJam. I bought things from Aquatic Realm, from Bins Aquatics, then from Ryan Reeves, and finally DFW Designer Corals. And as I got the corals, you know, they just bagged them up and I just paid for them. And then I said, what are they called again? And I made a list in my phone because they were just saying things. I'm like, what? Like, for example, the one that Ryan kept saying, I kept saying, what are you saying? And then he and his friend were spelling it, and I was typing it extra slow. The Clatharata, or Clotharata, it means nothing to me. I've never heard of it. And apparently that's the species name. So it's Acropora clotharata. Clatharata. That's a new one for me. I'm not familiar with it. But the nickname Fart Blossom might stick. That frog skin, I got a really good deal on that huge colony. The piece that, the largest one you saw. It was more than what I paid, and it was there for the whole show, and he had a large piece. Actually, it was sort of like a little bit like Goldilocks, from smallest to largest, and he said, it goes from this price all the way down to this little tiny guy in the front. And he says, Mark, if you want that large one, I'd love to sell it. I'd rather get it out of the tank. And I was like, okay, well, and then he said, I'll give it to you for this. And I was like, done. Just here's my card. And then I'd already bought something already from him, the Setosa. So he said, so I'm just going to give you a deal on this one, which was nice because I'm not a haggler. I don't enjoy that process. And, if they tell me the price and I don't like the price, I just don't buy. But I'm not a haggler. And when I've tried to haggle in the past, it was just embarrassing because I'm so bad at it. I'll tell you the story. There was this really pretty acan in Cherry Coral's booth, and I've never bought anything from Cherry Corals. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? And he said to me, that is a king's ransom. And I was like, and what does the king's ransom cost? And I think it was like $300 or something. And I was like, oh my God. But it was the prettiest acan ever. And I was like, I really want that. So I said to him, as I'm handing him my card, I told you this is embarrassing. I said $290, and he just looked at me and he said, seriously? And I was like, I'm bad at this. Here's my card. I'm supposed to say like 200, and then we meet at 250, but I went from 300 to 290, and he just looked at me like I was the moron, and I was. So I paid 300. He didn't even give it to me for 290. That jerk. That's just not right? Okay, Alex wants to know, do you have any tips on keeping sun corals thriving? I bought a sun coral without knowing it's non-photosynthetic. So first of all, yes, I have a huge page about this on my website. And easy to look up. Just go to Google and type in sun corals Mila's Reef, and it'll take you to the right page. And I have a huge, it's a massive write-up with tons of pictures of how to take care of them and how to feed them and what they need and what to avoid. But essentially, you need to feed your coral regularly. At the very least, twice a week. Ideally, you can feed it every single day. Sun corals tend to open up at night when the tank is dark because in nature they live in total darkness. They don't rely on light at all, like you said, non-photosynthetic. And they are constantly feeding from the water column. So they are in deep, dark caves. A diver goes in with their floodlight and they shine it, and there's these beautiful orange and yellow polyps everywhere, and they are just capturing food from the plankton that's blowing through the flow. So you can't possibly put that kind of food in your tank on a regular basis. So what I have done in the past is I would stop all the flow in the tank. I'd thaw out some frozen mini mysis, and I would then take that food and I would take a pipette and I would squirt the food at the polyps, and they would close up like anemones. And then 5 minutes later, they're open again, and you do it again. And they close up and eat, and then you do it again. So you basically feed 3 times in a row during a 15-minute time span, and then you turn the flow back on. Now, the problem with feeding the sun corals in your tank could be that everything else is going to realize what you're doing and they're going to want to come steal it. Now, the sun coral is not a slow eater like some other corals, so it does close up, but ornamental shrimp like peppermint shrimp or cleaner shrimp might come over and literally rip the coral open to pull the food out of its mouth. I've seen that done. So you have to keep that in mind, and you can try to feed your shrimp, but for some reason shrimp are just dumb in that you'll hand them a piece of krill, which should be Thanksgiving for them, and they will drop that to go pounce on your sun coral and grab all the food, which is super annoying. But you can keep feeding the sun coral. You can just keep going and going and going, and the shrimp will eventually have to give up because at some point it's going to become satiated. It's going to move on. But you're going to have other things come over. Starfish will come over. Fish will come over. Anything that smells the food in the water may come to get it. You can cover the coral with a dome. Like you could take a 2-liter bottle and cut off the top section, and you could use it like a dome and set that over the coral and squirt the food in. You want to try and feed as many of the polyps as possible of your sun coral colony. And even though you don't have to feed every single mouth, the more you feed, the better. If you can feed almost all of them, you're doing great. They are semi-interconnected with their tissue, so if a polyp is getting food, the one next to it does benefit from the capture, but ideally every polyp wants to capture food. And so if you're going to turn off the flow in your tank to feed your sun corals, you just need to be aware that you're going to have things coming to steal, and you have to remember to turn the flow back on. If you don't remember and you leave the flow off all night, you're going to wake up to a bunch of dead fish because you made a mistake. And I've done that too. Back in probably 2005 or so, I was so mad at myself. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. I never did that twice. But yeah, I was supposed to feed the sun corals at night. I put the food on top of the tank to thaw. And then I just got tired and said, I'm going to bed. And I just went to bed. And when I woke up, my tank was 2 inches lower than normal because the flow was off. And all my fish were laying on the sand. And that was a terrible mistake. Now, if you're using any kind of automation on your aquarium where things turn on automatically, and let's say you have your return pump on a timer where it's off for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, it will then automatically resume whether you feed or not. That at least you've got a safety built in to keep the flow on in your tank. But the reason I turn off all the flow is to get the food on that coral. If you have flow blowing things around, and as you're squirting the food, the coral just blows away and lands somewhere else, you've wasted your time and effort. Anyway, sun corals can be fed all the time. They can be fed every single night. Some people feed them during the daytime to train them to be open during the daytime. I've never bothered to do that. I just kind of let the coral be the species that it is. I can enjoy them at night. I can grab my little blue flashlight and I can look at them and enjoy what there is to see at night while the other corals and fish are resting, which is a nice alternative. But yeah, that's that. Another choice you could use for feeding if you're not wanting to direct feed the coral is you could do broadcast feeding to the aquarium after lights out. You would turn off your protein skimmer for an hour, whatever, 20 minutes, an hour, and you could use something like Reef and mix up a solution of the powder with your tank water. You let it sit for 5 minutes on the edge of the tank. And once it's had 5 minutes for the bacteria to activate, then you can pour it into your reef and it just goes everywhere, and the sun corals can absorb that as well. I'm not going to say that is enough food for the sun coral alone, but it definitely would be a great way to feed every coral in your tank during lights out while all the polyps are out and all the fish are at rest. And the food is so fine because it's plankton sized that the fish can't steal it even if they wanted to. They may go around swimming and chewing and biting at dots in the water column, but they're not going to fill their bellies. But your corals will fill their bellies. So that is another way of doing it. But definitely think about feeding with some specific meaty foods. And mini mysis is probably the easiest food you could use. There's other stuff on the market, but that's the one that comes to my mind. And Terry says, I've been out of the loop for a while. Well, welcome back. But it looks like the saltwater crocodiles are doing good in the background. Yeah. So the ones right over my shoulder there, they are doing quite well. Here you can kind of see it a little bit better there. They are being fed TDO B2, which is a nice size. I have found that they, I'm trying to get rid of this text here. They are definitely devouring that, so I'm not relying only on baby brine shrimp, which is good. So they're consuming that. I do throw in some baby brine just because it's on the net, so I just give it to them as well. But there's probably 200 in this tank over here that the light's not on yet. That light was on late last night. I was like, why is that still on? And I realized that timer is not on daylight savings time, so I have to fix that one. But those guys, they have been getting the TDO dust, and they've been getting baby brine every single day. And that's what I've been feeding them. So yeah, they're doing well. There's a project coming up for that tank that I just need to build a tank really fast and get that set up as soon as possible because I need it done. Let's see. The Great White says, I'm going to switch back here. Traded corals with 2 locals this past week. Trading is the best. Had a bunch of sun-kissed bounces. I traded for about a dozen acros, montes, zoas, and a fire digicolony. That is great. That's awesome. I'm glad you're able to do such a trade like that. I definitely prefer trades. It makes me happy. But today I kind of knew I was going there to spend, and then I just started spending. I probably spent $400 or $500 today. It's like I didn't even want to add it up. I was like, no, not going to do that. All right, let's see. William says, I'm glad you kept the club going. Me too. A matter of fact, when I told that to someone today, they're like, wow. They said, thank you for doing that. I was like, yeah, I was very upset. What had happened was during COVID, the early part of COVID, obviously we couldn't meet because we couldn't even leave our homes, remember? And I just chose I have no idea why, but I actually got on the Zoom call that the board of directors was doing, and they were basically disbanding the club, and they were going to take whatever money was in the bank and donate it to some charity. And I was like, what is going on? Why are you doing this? And it's like, well, we have to because of COVID. I'm like, no, we don't have to do anything. We're literally on a Zoom call right now. We can do Zoom meetings. That's what people are doing. We just have to figure it out. And they're like, no, it's our fiscal responsibility. And I was like, no, it's not your responsibility to get rid of the club during a time when everyone's self-isolating. If anything, this is the ideal time to be there for club members and interact with them. And this Zoom method is actually more convenient than getting in your car and driving to the club location to sit down and have a PowerPoint presentation. And they were just adamant to get rid of the club. And I just said, I know what you're doing. You're trying to get rid of it because you're tired of doing it. You don't want to go and set up for the meeting. You don't want to bring microphones and bring a screen and bring raffle prizes and whatever. I'm like, you're tired of it all and you're just trying to get out. I said, if you want to quit, just quit. But don't get rid of the club because the club has done nothing wrong. There's no reason for the club to go away. And by the end of the phone call, I basically said, you will give me this club before this club will be disbanded. And they kind of, I'm not mentioning anyone's name, so it doesn't really matter, but basically they all gave me the finger and said, good luck. And I was like, okay, because it's not like I don't know how to run the club. I definitely know how to do it, and I've done it in the past. I did it for 6 or 8 years at one point, and then I did it again for a brief period when we were between presidents, and then, I've been president again since COVID. It's on the slide, it's on the down low. Nobody knows. The club continues to do well. We have something like 600 members. We have events throughout the year, frag swaps, bus tour. Where one of our members today says, I want to get the tank tours going again, which is a lot of fun. If you've never been in a club that does a tank tour, it's awesome because everyone basically grabs their vehicles and they drive to the first home that's on the list. And then you go look at that person's aquarium, and then you're there 25, 45 minutes, something like that. Hopefully they've left out some cookies and some soda or whatever. And then you all get in your cars and you caravan to the next location, and you look at that tank, and you grab some of their cookies, and then you go to the next one, and you visit something like 5 aquariums during that day, maybe 6. Right in the middle of the day, we would stop and say, go grab lunch, and you could pick your favorite fast food. It was on the route, and you could just choose to go here or there, grab McDonald's, go to Arby's, whatever is your tickles your fancy. And then you had to be at the next location by 2:00. Now, the benefit of seeing these tanks in person is, number one, they had pretty tanks, which was a huge draw, right? But the second thing is you could ask all these questions about their tank, and sometimes we, the audience, would suggest what the owner could do to make their tank better. We'd say, hey, have you considered doing this? Or they'd say, I'm really stuck on this, but I don't know what to do. And 5 different people would come up with solutions. So it was a really nice back and forth versus a zoo experience where you go to the tank and you go to the next tank and you go to the next tank. You were more interactive. And we had, like one guy, I remember on one of our tank tours years ago, he had barely set the tank up. It was maybe 6 weeks old or something like that. There was nothing to look at. And he told us that. He says, I'm really sorry. I realize you're all going and seeing these beautiful coral tanks, and I've got nothing in here, but I really want to pick your brains. And so I made you all come here. And so we answered his questions. And then we went to the next location, and he was super grateful. He said that was probably the best hour he'd spent in a long time because he had so much insight on the actual tank he was running. And it wasn't just sort of like posting on the forum and asking a question here and asking a question there. Instead, we could look at the skimmer, we could see the sump, we could see the flow, we could check out the lighting, we just saw the whole thing. So, yeah, tank tours are a lot of fun. Our best event superseded an event we used to do called Next Wave, which was an all-day conference. And we didn't do that in the beginning. I kept hearing about it. And at one point while I was president, I said, so what's this Next Wave I keep hearing about? And they said it's basically a one-day conference, and you have a bunch of speakers, and you have a few, possibly a few vendors. But usually it's just been speakers. So I was like, really? So we get some speakers, and we just do presentation after presentation? I'm like, yeah. I was like, that we can do. And we probably did 6 or 8 of those over the years. And but then it kind of fizzled out. There became too many clubs inside Texas, and there was this competition for the audiences. So like when we first did one of our earlier Next Waves that we did, the people from Austin, the people from San Antonio, the people from Houston, they would drive up to Dallas-Fort Worth to attend our conference. But then Houston would do a show, and then people from Dallas-Fort Worth would have drive down to Houston. Or San Antonio would do a show, and then maybe people from Austin and Houston would go, because Texas is so enormous. And in the end, it was just too much competition, and then it got a little bit vindictive. Because I remember the last Next Wave conference we did, we went all in. We super overextended ourselves. We got this really nice venue. We set up this huge room for all the vendors. We had a literal presentation room that was more like a theater with so much seating and on the screens, of course, to see what the different speakers would talk about. It was in a really, really nice, expensive place. It was a high-end hotel. And the problem was, not only did we have clubs in Austin, and I think Austin did an event that day too. So anyone that was going to come from Houston or San Antonio would go to Austin instead of continuing up to come to our event. And then the competing club that was in Dallas made a big announcement on their forums saying, don't go to Next Wave, come to our barbecue today, free food for everyone. So they basically stole people away. And all of that just made it really badly attended. And that's why I'm always telling you guys, if there's an event near you, go to it, because if you don't go, that event will just dissipate. It'll just disappear from from apathy, from lack of interest. And what happened was, we had all these vendors there that paid money for their booths, and we had this great venue, but we were missing like 225 people. We had like 225 show up. We needed 450 to 500 people to have enough money so that all the vendors can make money and the speakers can get paid and for it to be a successful event. But when you're missing half of your audience because they're either stolen or they're blocked by another the different clubs hurt us. And I don't know that it was, well, I definitely know the Dallas club was vindictive. But the other one was probably just coincidence. They landed on the same day. It was unfortunate for us. But we would always try to plan our events by checking who's doing what on what dates so we don't overlap. And so our event was really messed up. And one of the vendors was super vocal, like in a bad way, and was complaining, where are all the people? And, DFWMAS, what did you do? And I was a vendor too. I had a booth, and I'm just like, I get it, but why are you complaining? Let's just work with who we've got to work with and sell the things we have to sell. I was selling dry goods like RODI filters and Safety Stop and ELOS test kits and Salifert this and whatever. And he was selling corals, and he was so upset. But what was happening was, all the people in the room that were buying things, they'd say there's an announcement, the next speaker is Sanjay Yoshi, he's in the room next door, and everyone would leave to go hear the presentation. And then the vendor hall was empty except for the vendors. And there was no one to sell to. You just had 45 minutes to twiddle your thumbs. And then all those people would exit the talk and they'd go shop. And then you'd be crazy busy. Then the next speaker was announced and they all left to go hear the speaker. I mean, I'm glad they went to hear the presentations and to learn. That was the whole benefit of Next Wave. That was the premise. It wasn't just a selling thing. It wasn't a frag swap. It was a conference to learn to become better hobbyists. So I wasn't mad at them, but I understood it's much nicer to have constant people buying from your booth every minute for the next 4 to 6 hours. I get it. That would be logical. And if everyone had shown up, it would have worked out that way because half the people probably would have been listening to the speaker, while the other half were just going to shop. But instead, we were missing so many, hundreds of people, and it hurt the event, and we could never do it again. I mean, if it wasn't a bad reputation where the vendor's like, no, don't go there because DFWMAS is no good, and that was just, negative publicity. But there was also the people that were helping organize it said, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much work. And I was like, yeah, I can hear that. I mean, if people aren't going to show up for it, it will then go away. So that's why, we tell you, I tell you, go to these events. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Okay, so William, it's 40 there. I think we should hold off a little bit longer. We'll probably have some really good weather happening in, let's see, let's just see what happens next couple of weeks. And then at that point, I'll probably ship you some stuff. Andrea's here. She says it's 95 there, too, in California. Kids are in the pool. And Ziggy says, can you send some of that warmth? It's not warm in New Jersey. It's so funny. I mean, America is a huge country, and a lot of times people don't realize that. Like people in other countries, Europe, or, with everything going on with politics and everything, people in Europe are like, why doesn't America do something? It's like, there's not much you can do with a nation as big as ours with 330 million humans. That's a massive number. You're not talking about, a little tiny country like Switzerland, which is a much smaller number of people to make a change of any kind. It's different. But our country is so large that our weather is all over the place. And while we had this heat wave happening early March, which is really remarkable, and I mean, we were up in the 80s 2 weeks ago, after the week before when I was in Michigan, and it was so cold there, it was like 6 degrees, or maybe it was negative, I can't remember what it was, but it was really cold. But we had just been in super cold weather and ice for a few days, and then the sun came out and immediately went to 80 as I flew to Michigan to enjoy more snow and ice, and and have some more enjoyable, cool time before I have to come back to Texas and deal with the heat. And now the heat is back and it's voracious. I mean, my lawn that was hibernating is completely green now. It's ready to be mowed for the second time already. Rose bushes are pushing out roses. It's we're here. We're jumping right into 95. We're jumping into summer basically, which means this summer could be really, really hot. Zoanthids aren't going to do anything. I'm just going to stop that camera so I'm not draining my phone completely dead. Disconnect. All right. Let's see. Ziggy says I'm going to need some of those fish. All right. Email me later. You can get some Milev muggles. And yeah, that starfish was really pretty. I don't know enough about it. I've seen it occasionally. I've seen a few tanks. I've asked people, is it reef safe? I don't know. It's really colorful, which is great. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good with certain corals. And I don't know which corals it may prefer to snack upon or what else it might want to eat. They tried to tell me it was totally fine, and maybe it is. I just don't know for a fact that that's true. Let's see. The Great White says that Polar Reef lost 10,000 gallons out of the system, and they're assuming it's equipment failure. Yeah, I don't know. And John found my sun coral article that's dated all the way back to June 5th of 2004. So that first coral, as you'll read, because that's kind of like a diary post, I grabbed all my sun coral stuff and just made a super long page. That was a trade in a parking lot in the middle of the night. And, I showed up with something, and I gave them, I can't remember what I gave them, but they gave me a sun coral in return and said, you got to feed it. I was like, okay. And as long as you feed it, you can grow the crap out of it. And if you do a really good job, you'll end up with sun coral babies everywhere in your reef. And back when I was running my 280-gallon reef, and I had my sun coral at the bottom, and I'd feed it, several times a week, At one point, I saw little babies popping up here, there, and everywhere. I was like, this is amazing. But unfortunately, I wasn't broadcast feeding. I was only specifically feeding the fish or hitting the colony. So I would have had to hit all those little tiny nubs that were in the rock, like squirt food here and there, and I wasn't doing that. And then sometime thereafter, that tank leaked and I broke it down, and I never saw those polyps that had started to form just withered away or disappeared because I never saw them again. Oh, thank you, Andrea, for putting the link to the article there. William says I should have haggled with Brett, not with Todd. You're right. Todd is he's hard. He needs his AARP funds. That's hilarious. Let's see. And then John is saying no event should ever have been held during the MACNA weekend, and now no one should have ever been held during the Reef Retreat weekend. Yeah, I mean, it's good to lock in certain dates and say that's that for us, but, now MACNA's completely gone and defunct. So at this point, if Aquashella or Reefapalooza wanted to use that weekend, they could. I mean, it was always Labor Day weekend, and lots of people complained about that, and I always thought it was the perfect weekend because that meant you came home Sunday or Monday morning, and it was a holiday. There was no work. So I thought, this is the perfect weekend to go, and people kept saying, no, it's terrible, it's bad, it affects school, and I was like, I don't see how it affects anything. I was like, you just go, you have a good time, you come back on Sunday night, and you relax Monday, or you come home Monday morning and relax the rest of the day, and then you go to work on Tuesday. But me being self-employed and choosing my hours and choosing to work late at night, maybe I'm not the best person to give advice on that. But yeah, there was a lot of complaining. People would say, well, I want to ship my corals home, and I can't because it's a holiday. Like, all right, but I always took my corals and put them in the suitcase, or I put them in my carry-on and came home with them, so they'd be in my tank within a few hours. That's how I handled it. John says I should send you some more corals so you have another box to send fish in. I should order corals from you, John. That's what I should do, and that way I get my box to ship fish in, and you make some money. So I'll have to go to your website and see what you got. Did any of you guys buy his pie corals? Did anyone jump on that last weekend? That was an especially great time to do so. And then John says, we went from a 70-degree day to a blizzard in 18 hours. That makes no sense. And he says, I don't want to hear that. Hear it, Mark. Go enjoy your hot tub. That's hilarious. Pisa Piad says, I really enjoyed the RODI stream last weekend. It was very educational. Thank you. You're very welcome. I've been selling them for a long time, so I have 20 plus years experience with them intimately. Obviously I know the system I sell, so I can talk about it in pretty good depth where, and while they are industry standard, some have certain features, others don't. Like, for example, there was a really cool computer on this one brand. It might have been AquaFX, or it might have been Spectraviewer. I don't know. But they had a computer that did certain things like, man, we should sell that. And I complained or brought it up to my supplier. And then he ordered, because they would order parts from wherever. I would say China, right? And they received their giant container, and they'd open it up and they'd offload, their pallets of parts. And then, of course, my parts would be from my systems that I sell. And they got a whole bunch of controllers, but all the text on the controllers were basically in Chinese. And so they had no idea what anything said, and they didn't come with power supplies. They gave them the screen, but no way to know what juice it needed. They couldn't get any answers. The whole idea was just sort of like, they kind of just lost money, my supplier did, because they bought them in good faith, didn't get the parts, didn't get any answers back from the seller, and so they were just sitting on, I don't know, let's just say a box of 50 screens or brains that had they couldn't do anything, and it was just wasted money. And I felt bad because I was the one asking for something, but I was trying to include extra features to make myself more competitive with other companies that sell RODI systems. But in the end, all we care about is pure water. I just got a phone call earlier this week from a guy who wanted one of my 150 gallon a day systems, and he wanted to also he lived on a well, which I said we talked about that last weekend. And so I explained to him about the possibility that he might have a CO2 problem in the well water. And then he said, I want to have drinking water. And we discussed a lot of the different things he wanted to do. And in the end, I think he'll be buying a system for me, which is nice because, I'm happy to stay in business. But I realize there's a lot of different companies on the market, that offer, essentially similar items. And so if people choose to buy from me, it's always greatly appreciated. And if they choose from someone else, that is how the free market works. It's supposed to be fair for everyone. Jordan says, I'm looking at a sand cleanup crew, and I know that you hate sand sifting stars. And I understand why, but don't you think one for a larger tank would be okay and wouldn't be able to eat all the beneficial bacteria? Well, you said larger tanks, so yeah, if you, for example, if you had a tank like mine, a 400 gallon, and you wanted to put in one sand sifting starfish to meander through the, what is that, 7 times 3, 21 square feet of sand bed minus wherever the rock is sitting, that probably would be okay. But is it necessary? There's so many other choices that you just don't even need it. I think sand sifting starfish are great in a fish-only tank, especially maybe a predator tank with predators that don't eat starfish. Because they need a cleanup crew, but they're going to eat the cleanup crew. But that starfish could keep consuming all the waste coming off those fish and eating whatever's in the sand bed. And in theory, those tanks have some pretty heavy filtration behind them to keep up with the water quality. So realistically, the sand sifting starfish, its main duty is to keep the sand bed turned over. Not that it's to consume or eat algae or detritus, because it doesn't. It's not a detritus eater. It's a hunter. It's hunting for the beneficial bacteria, like you mentioned. It's looking for the things we actually want in our sand beds, and it will kill them all. And if it gets it all, then what ends up happening is you look at your sand bed and the sand either turns brown or it grows hair algae right there on the grains of sand because all that good life is not there. It's devoid of life, and now it's just a hotbed for growing algae. So could you have one? Yes. If the tank's big enough, yes. But keep it reasonable and get other sand sifters. You can get Nacerius snails, you can get cucumbers. There's so many cucumbers that you can get. There's some hideously ugly ones. I like the tiger tail because I think they're good looking and they self-propagate, which is nice. The yellow cucumbers I would skip because they don't do anything but filter feed from the water column. So you'll get this cute little cucumber, like, oh, that'll be beautiful. It'll become big. Like, no, it stays this big forever. And it sits on a rock and sticks out its crown, and it just catches food like a sea apple. And it never moves, and it never does anything, and it doesn't help the sand bed. It's just looking for opportunistic meals in the water column. So don't get that one. But, look and see what there are. I've seen people that buy different colors. I've seen black and pink and brown, just blah-looking things. But, they help process the sand, so you can do that. I think if you're going to do it, do the tiger tail. All right. Let's see. All right. We've talked for about an hour. Let me just go ahead and jump to this so you guys get the rest of your day. We should be testing our water today. It is Water Test Saturday. I know I bring this up every week, and it's just to remind you, because if you don't test your water and things go wrong in your tank, you're going to be testing your water anyway to find out what's wrong, and I want your tank to do well. I want you to be successful. I want you to have pretty corals. I want you to go shopping for more corals like I did. And, if your tank's doing badly, the last thing you're going to do is go look for more corals to buy because you got to fix what's wrong. Obviously, my tank's doing well if I'm coming home with several $100s worth of corals today because my tank needed more coral. Yeah, it's kind of full. I'll be decluttering here as I'm removing more anemones. And as I do that, I will have places for these guys that I got today. I've got to go dip them. That is very important. And make sure that they are bug-free. And then I can put them in my system. And that'll be that for now. And later on, you'll see pictures of them as they grow in and become amazing. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I should see you again next weekend. Bye, guys.